Welcome to a very special session from the Haute Lawyer Network today. We are thrilled to have two outstanding panelists joining us today. Michael Kosnitzky, welcome. Keith Blum, welcome. Before we go into intros and begin our session, I want to start, just as we let our guests join us, over to you, Michael. Michael, what's your biggest takeaway been from 2020 and how you've applied it to the start of 2021 and really looking ahead?
Well, great question. Just generically, resilience in our law firm, resilience in the people I deal with, resilience in my clients and my friends, and the ability to adapt to change circumstances, whatever they might be. The humankind has the ability to adapt to their circumstances and to succeed and prosper and deal with uncertainties and deal with risk. And this has been, horrendous environment, both in terms of deaths, obviously people's health, the financial environment has been terrible for many. It still has shown that people can deal with those problems, deal with those issues, adapt to them, and survive and hopefully prosper. And again, taking those lessons and rolling them into 2021 is good for everyone, because who knows, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say. So it didn't kill us, at least not yet, and hopefully it'll make us stronger.
Thank you, Michael. Keith, over to you. What are your thoughts there?
It's a new opportunity in 2021. We had a lot of turmoil. But now it's time to put things together and move forward.
Thank you very much to each of you. So we're thrilled. We have Kendall Fergusson from Haute Lawyer, myself, April Irene Donelson, Senior Vice President of Haute Living. Michael Kosnitzky, thrilled to have you, tremendous Haute Lawyer partner of ours for the private wealth law. And Keith Blum, partner as well from Pillsbury Law. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we're going to begin the ABCs of forming and operating family offices in 2021. Michael, what level of wealth do you see as a minimum for forming a family office?
Well, look, it depends. As you say, if you've seen one family office, you've seen one family office. They're all different. But because of the strategies that we and other law firms and other accounting firms deploy, and the concept of the family office, being the kind of the organizing vehicle, the brain center of the ultra wealthy family, requires at least some minimal amount of net worth and income, revenue flow into the office. And there's no rule of thumb on any of this. I just say, based upon my experience, it appears to be probably in the $50 million net worth range. Probably not less than that. 100 million net worth range probably makes more sense, even in a minimal, scaled down, kind of bare bones family office. There are those that have smaller amounts of wealth that have those family offices, and even at 50 million. But the costs, you have to balance costs against any strategies that you might deploy, and they seem to be a little bit too high and don't justify it at amounts less than that.
Thank you, Michael. Kendall.
All right. So what do your clients usually ask you at the beginning stages of opening a family office?
Well, normally what happens is you never come in normally to a situation that doesn't have different aspects to it already somewhat developed, right? I mean, you have different types of family offices. You have legacy families that have had, extreme wealth for many generations. That's a classic one. But you also have families and ultra wealthy individuals who have developed wealth in a short period of time and are much younger, let's say. And this is that first generation wealth, Silicon Valley type wealth, tech type wealth, that sort of thing. Also, people, we have lottery winners. We have people that have gotten wealth in a very short period of time. And so, those are different situations we have than others. Every situation is different. So many times we come in, if there's this situation where someone has an existing environment that they've grown into. Let's say if, a company, they have a family-owned company and now they want to establish a family office, or they have a fund. They have a fund and now they want to have a side family office. So we kind of look at what's there, the structure of what's there, the assets that they have. We usually ask for a financial statement, a personal financial statement. We look at tax returns. We look at whatever org chart there is that exists now, understanding the assets. And then we come up with some kind of bespoke first draft kind of solution to them. And we usually try to show very early on the benefits of what we can do. And so we kind of lay that out early on and look at the low-hanging fruit and explain that. And then thereafter, we refine that and continue to refine it and explain that our different aspects of the family office that we could add legally. And then we also look at different aspects that can be, you have choices. So we let clients have choices and to talk about the cost benefit of the various choices. But the first thing is understanding what's there. There's an old saying, you don't take down a fence unless you know why it's there. So you have to understand, the foundation that's there. We try not to change it too much if people are comfortable with it and but rather add to it and augment it and improve it.
Thank you, Michael. What services do you typically see performed in-house by a family office?
They're all over the place. I have some of my very wealthiest multi-billionaire families have very scaled down offices where they have essentially an administrative assistant and sometimes a general counsel, and then sometimes some kind of accounting personnel, and then they outsource these other aspects of it. Some are outsourced to us in different ways. Some are outsourced to other third parties. Then I have family offices that have the entire litany of staff. They have people that handle travel. They have people that internally handle aircraft and yachts, artwork. My family offices vary from just 2 or 3 people and to I don't want to say hundreds, but certainly dozens of people in the family office that are dedicated to the family office, separate from what may be a core family business. That's separate employees that are part of that family business, but just running the family office. So it's all over the place of what kinds of things get done in those family offices. What we try to do, one of the things we do a little differently at Pillsbury is that we offer back office services. So we supplement the family offices and we don't step on the toes of others if there are people that are already performing these services or there are other providers that the client would rather not have us do all of these type of services, but just have us do legal, then we just do legal. But we also have back office services. In fact, Keith Blum heads that up in our firm. That we do things like art management, foundation management, yacht management, aircraft management, bespoke accounting for the family office, and financial projections, gifting strategies, things that would not be normally within the purview of a law firm. They're more in the purview of a consulting environment. We do those too. We usually do them for a monthly fixed fee arrangement that we handle, and they're very much depending upon the services that are needed. Again, we try to blend the existing families' personnel into that, and also take into account they may have other providers that do some or all of those services.
So, I mean, you're really able to come in and provide full service management for all of these clients, correct?
We can. I mean, we don't do it for all of them. Sometimes we're just doing our legal function. If they don't have a general counsel, then we many times function as a general counsel. Sometimes we function just as specialty counsel. Depends on the family office. Sometimes they have aircraft management firms that they retain, and yacht management firms and art management firms and so forth. And so we made, it's very much a bespoke kind of Chinese menu oriented, choose from what you want. And then we come up with a fee arrangement. It's usually pretty informal. We don't have hundreds of clients in this space. We have a few dozen. And, we're very flexible. We may start out in one place and say, look, we're going to shake hands, or we're going to do these services. We think this is our fee. We'll keep track of our time. You keep, you monitor us, and there's transparency. And if it gets out of whack one way or the other, then we'll adjust so that everybody is happy and it's fair treatment for everybody.
So really a winning strategy. That's there.
I mean, it's worked for us. And the virtue of doing these other things that law firms don't normally do is that it creates a very sticky environment, right? We're not just dealing with kind of anecdotal oh, we're making a private equity investment, you know, we want you to diligence it, or what are the tax aspects of something, or estate planning, or whatever it might be. That those are traditional functions. We do them very well. But when we're interfacing with the family office on a recurring basis, because we're dealing with these other issues like accounting or art management, wherever it might be, foundation management, then we're closer to what's going on. The other virtue is we're able to see risks and opportunities firsthand, not getting them filtered through other people or hearing about them after the fact when the problem has already arisen or the opportunity has already passed.
Thank you, Michael. Kendall, over to you from the Haute Lawyer Network.
How long does it take to open one, and how does it differ from other legal services?
Well, again, it doesn't differ that much, because what we practice at the firm, and we're not the only ones who do that. There are other firms that practice this way, but it's the minority. We take a holistic approach to the wealthy. So our approach is that we view the wealthy as a practice area. So we draw on the various skill sets, and so of the various people in the firm, but we compartmentalize them in one group. So there's, if you've ever done any construction on a home, you have a general contractor, and then you have the subs and so forth. We're the general contractor. So, we typically, as I say, review a client's situation up front, and we have a focus on, our main focus is to reduce risk. Our goal is to reduce risk as lawyers. And risk comes in different ways. There's tax risks, and within tax, there's income tax risk. And within income tax, there's state and federal tax risk. Then there's estate tax risk, estate, gift, and generation skipping tax risk. These are all risks that we try to minimize the exposure to, and enhance the value of the family office. So that's our primary function as lawyers, is to reduce risk. And we draw on different aspects of the firm to do that. And it depends on what's already there. As I say, we don't know until we come in and analyze what's been done. Sometimes we come in and and many times we come in, there's a pristine estate plan. And people sometimes view private wealth as being only estate planning lawyers. That's not the case. In fact, it's a very small part of what we do. Maybe 10, 15% of what we do in our practice. It is a part of it, and we have some of the best in the world at Pillsbury, and we're well known for it. And we do it. But that's not, if we only waited around for people to want to change their estate plan, we'd have a very small practice. And so that's only one aspect of it. Then there's other aspects of it that like we're looking now at potential wealth taxes, both in California and New York, and perhaps federally. Senator Wyden has proposed a market-to-market taxation. So planning strategies that deploy some time-tested types of tax planning, as well as some bespoke, unique strategies that Pillsbury alone deploys, we suggest. So to set these things up, it depends on what's there. If there's not much there, then it'll take more time and obviously more expense. If there's a lot there, we kind of wrap around and make suggestions on how to augment what is already there. And time will depend upon what, these various variables.
Thank you, Michael. You've already touched on this a little bit, but if you can delve into it a little bit more without giving too much away, what assets are you usually managing legally for clients?
Yeah, again, it depends. Some we manage none. They have everything done internally, or they assign out through independent contractor arrangements, third-party arrangements, these various functions. We can if people want us to. It's not the mainstay. We're lawyers first, but we manage artwork. And back in the day, a few years ago, when there were like kind of exchanges of art, we did a lot more. But we still do, a fair amount. Art lending, wineries. We assist with wineries, wine collecting, any type of collectibles. We have clients that have racing teams. We assist in that. I mentioned aircraft, different types of aircraft. We're involved with Part 91 and Part 135 arrangements, and assisting in making sure that they comport with both the regulatory aviation rules as well as the tax rules. So we assist in that sort of management, making sure that our clients are able to maximize tax deductions and so forth. So, it depends again on the circumstance, but we do it all. It's one shop stopping for us. Again, a holistic approach to the ultra wealthy. We view it as a practice area. And the people that practice in the various disciplines, estate planning, income tax planning, state income tax, yacht purchases, aircraft, all work coordinated to not just deal with, in a siloed way, purchase of an aircraft, but also understanding the sales and tax and use tax aspects of it. Same thing with artwork. The ultimate, how it fits into the estate plan, making sure we're maximizing tax deductions. It's all kind of a holistic approach to dealing with this. And the family office also, I just want to point out, of course, aspects of it and many of the driving factors, and I think our principal responsibility is to reduce risk. And that could be, again, different types of risks, tax risks, other things. But it's also a vehicle to manage your assets, right? I mean, it's the fundamental brain center, family office, of the family, and it organizes the family's different aspects of their businesses, investments, personal things, foundation or charitable giving, in an organized way that can be managed properly, and and measured properly. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So we assist in those aspects of it, working hand in glove with accounting firms. If they have an existing accounting firm, we work closely with them. And our general philosophy is, if the accounting firms and the other professionals there can handle these things and manage these assets, then we stay out of the way. We're only here if that's needed. If that function is needed, if it's not, they have a firm that they like, but they're the accounting firm they like, but the firm doesn't do these other things, then we'll step in and offer our services.
Thank you, Michael. Kendall from the Haute Lawyer Network.
How did you adapt to clients' needs in 2020?
Oh, wow. So we made ourselves available. I mean, no firm, I think, responded faster, out-hustled us. Anytime we were brought into a situation where there was a need for people to jump in quickly, we did. No matter what that was, we had 3 of our clients received presidential pardons yesterday. Whatever it might be, we moved quickly, I think efficiently, and adapted to the environment we were in. And I think, I don't know if that's a pretty open-ended question, but I think that, we do what we normally do, except we did it better, quicker, more efficiently, more, there was no, in our business, there's never a 9 to 5, there's never a 5-day work week. We're always, in what we do, we have to be available 24/7. And everybody in our group, about 30 people, are always available 24/7. We have people in Hong Kong. We have people on the West Coast of the United States, and we have people around the world. So, people have to be available. When clients in this environment in 2020, what they needed was someone to be available to them, to give them cogent advice, calm, cogent advice, thoughtful advice, not to play off of anybody's hysterias. But there were a lot of issues that related to in 2020, whether that was COVID related, whether it's pandemic related, whether it was, financially related to the pandemic, or whether it was because people were concerned about a change in the administration that did occur. The Senate flipped and the presidency flipped. And so, they were concerned about that. Though they wanted people to talk to who had, if they didn't have the answers, they knew they could get them and make them feel that safe, in an environment where people generally felt unsafe. And so I think our job, we're not anybody's, priest, rabbi, or social worker or marriage counselor, but I think we were there to talk to and made ourselves available. And what we do in this little practice area is not just technical, right? It's a lot of it is very much understanding the client. You might, it's not just giving the optimal tax planning. Because if you give the applicant, that may not satisfy their long-term goals or their wishes. So you have to kind of blend those things and give them options. James Gandolfini, I didn't represent him, so I'm not, but people were critical of his tax planner because he left his son a villa, I think it was a winery villa, it's a little time, I don't remember, I think it was a villa and a house in Italy. And that was very important to him. And people said, what kind of estate plan would leave, a minor this asset and not liquid? But when you sit down with clients and you understand that what they want to accomplish, Now, maybe that could have been done differently and avoided some of these risks, but at the end of the day, we're just the lawyers. We have to tell clients what the risks are of doing different things, the benefits of doing them, and they have to make a choice, an informed choice as to those decisions. And yes, they all have risk associated with them, but that's what we try to do. We try to inform our clients, be available to them. I think we did a pretty darn good job during 2020, and we intend to do even better job during 2021.
Fantastic. Michael, thanks so much. Let's move over to compensation. How do you determine the compensation that's appropriate for a family office CEO? And taking it a little bit past that, do you recommend that the CEO and other executives also have employment agreements? How do you recommend that they structure it appropriately and most effectively?
I'm going to say the same thing. It depends on the circuit. I hate lawyers that do that, but I'm going to say it again. But no, we've done, I would say very interestingly, the last year, there were certain themes, that were present in our space during the last year. One of them was, change in administration and, things like that. And people had more time to look at their estate plan, and because change in administration, some of the planning that had been done in the past, would have to change or move more rapidly because of the credit going away, potential wealth taxes, all these things. That was, one theme. Another theme was compensation for family office staff. And so what we do is, we work hand in hand with consultants who tell us what the industry calls for. And it tends to be not dissimilar nowadays to the fund industry, with some major exceptions. It tends to be a little stickier in terms of the relationship tends to be sometimes older people working in the office than they would be at a typical fund, that type of thing. There are no, let's say there's no clawbacks usually in a family office where there would be in a, in a fund environment, private equity fund or hedge fund environment. So there are differences, but the theme seems to be pay per performance, reducing as family offices start to manage their money more in one form or another. They tend to want to reward their people based upon the performance of the office, which is natural. That was not the case when I started in this business a number of years ago. People got a salary. Many times you had people, that came in. General counsel was often a former retired trust and estate lawyer from some firm, and who knew trust and estates but didn't really know a whole lot about anything else. And then retired accounting firm partners and things like that. That's changing over to be more fun people, more people that are on the cutting edge of finance. It's not a last stop. It tends sometimes to be a first stop. Many of my family offices have very young people involved with them. So you try to create a sticky environment so that they, if you do give them a return based upon the performance of the office, they have to vest in it over some period of years, somewhere between 2 and say 5 years, sometimes a little longer, but normally between, let's say, 2 and 5 years. So there's a vesting period. You try to emulate the gains. If we still have capital gain arbitrage after this administration gets its hands on it, which they've said they're going to do away with for people making over $1 million a year. But we try to emulate funds, not necessarily the 2 and 20 format, but a format that provides kind of a management fee, which is more on the lower end, and then the ability to pay based upon liquidity events or market to market. And Keith will cover some of this. Keith, besides heading up the back office services part, he does everything. I mean, he does what I do, but he also has a subspecialty of kind of managing the CPAs and paraprofessionals in our back office services and those people too. He takes that off my plate and manages that in Miami. He's also been actively involved in setting up a lot of these compensation arrangements, and I'm sure he'll speak to them when he gets a chance to speak, if I shut up at some point in time. But he talks about family offices having side fund investors, how you compensate the people. One of the challenges is if a lot of family offices have real estate portfolios, so and legacy real estate portfolios. So how do you compensate someone who purchased for you and you're going to hold it generationally real estate? So you have to have the ability for them to cash out. Otherwise, they're not incented. You can't say I'm paying you lesser than market compensation. I want to pay you on, on the value increase in the, in the real estate portfolio with different or aspects of it. But then you have no, I'm only going to pay when there's a liquidity event. Of course, the challenge is being able to pay them when there isn't a liquidity event, but depends on the size of the office. Sometimes you can force a leverage recap or some other refinancing. But these are the challenges. And that's why they're very much built based upon the nature of the office. A lot of our family offices engage in real estate, have separate real estate arms. The beauty of the family office, of course, one of the things is that it's optimal in terms of compensating people in the different aspects in different ways. So if you have your head of real estate, he or she may participate either only or majority in the real estate portfolio. If you have someone that's doing some kind of market trading aspect, like many of our clients do, and Keith will cover that when he gets a chance, they'll cover that aspect will also be covered they'll be compensated based upon that on market to market and not the real estate portfolio they had nothing to do with. And then whoever's managing the overall family office, he or she may be compensated on the totality of those things. So, we try to make a sticky environment, defer it. We try to incent them to perform and to enhance the value of the office. But there's one last point here. There's a lot of other points, but let me cover one important one. Difference between, say, a fund and a family office is you're really trying to preserve wealth, right? You're trying to protect. And it's very hard to value people who do that. It's very hard to value lawyers who do it. I mean, we make it a big part of our business, but how do it's easy to say, I'm going to compensate you when we have a transaction and you're going to get paid a contingency fee based upon a portion of that. That's easy. You can do it with lawyers, you can do people and your employees, and you can do it with anybody else. But it's harder when someone says, I've saved you from real risk. And our first job is to protect your risk. And so is everybody else employed by the family office. So the challenge is finding the right people. And that's why gray hair in family offices is usually more prevalent than, say, a fund.
Thank you, Michael. We have a final question from our internal questioning, closing out from Haute Lawyer. Over to you, Kendall.
How are you applying changes in the legal landscape as a new administration was sworn in yesterday?
Wow. Okay. So we've started. I mean, this is not new. As Maya Angelou said, she said, when people tell you what they are, believe them. And, we've been hearing, for a long time what the Democrats were going to do when they came in power. Now, there wasn't the blue wave everybody thought there would be. I think the last time we spoke, I spoke on the cusp of change back in, I don't remember when it was, November, maybe it was before the holidays. And I was in Aspen at the time, I remember. Now I'm in South Beach, by the way, our home in South Beach. But I talked about what could happen. We haven't seen the results of that yet. They haven't percolated through yet. But good planning dictated dealing with this months ago, not now. There still is time, perhaps, although tax changes can be retroactive. But we're assuming that rates are going to go up. They're going to have to, paying the bigger the deficit. The chickens have to come home to roost eventually. Someone's going to have to pay for it. And whether or not your philosophy is to wealth distribution or to more normalize extremes in wealth, or your philosophy is just to pay off deficits. They've got to be paid from somewhere and likely be the ultra wealthy. So how is that going to occur? Well, Biden has laid out that. He's basically said that for certain things, if you make more than $400,000 a year, for example, you're going to pay Social Security tax above. Now it's cut off at about 138. You don't pay it above 138,000, the 15% Social Security tax. Now you'll pay it. There'll be this kind of gap. You'll pay it up to 138, and then you'll pay it again above a 400,000. Right now, when you evaluate people's taxation and you look at rates, you essentially say that capital gains are taxed at 20% plus a 3.8% Social Security, net investment income tax. So about más o menos, as they say in Miami, 24%. Well, that will go away for people making more than $1 million a year. So you'll pay regular ordinary income rates, which are now 41%. That is 37% plus 3.8 gets you, again, about to 41% rate. and you'll pay that on capital gains. And that assumes rates stay the same where they are. The widened proposal is to essentially tax at least marketable securities currently, if you make more than $1 million a year or have $10 million in net worth, to tax your built-in gain, even though you didn't realize it, even though you didn't sell the asset year to year at those rates. So in other words, you have to pay tax. It's like a quasi wealth tax. So those things are floating around. So we've done, I don't think this is the right format to talk about specific strategies, but to suffice to say that wealth taxes, you look at New York. New York says they're going to increase tax. New York City tax in New York State. Well, New York State tax will increase. Cuomo was just announced that a couple of days ago. So you're talking about someone now in New York would be paying tax at about 56% if you're a New York City resident. That's very high rate. So we have deployed, and that's not counting if New York goes with a wealth tax, which has been kicked around, and California has been kicking around a wealth tax, separate from a federal wealth tax. So we have deployed strategies that assume that those things are going to happen. And the key to doing those strategies is not certainly is to offer clients alternatives, different, there's a cost benefit to every alternative. We suggest different alternatives that they can deploy. But the thing we do, I think, differently is we really focus on optionality and flexibility, because situations change. We're looking at now, people, C corporations, you'll see in our structure, we build a C corporation into our structure because the corporate rate is only 21%. Well, we do that to create optionality so that we can put certain types of income in there now that would be taxed at 21%. But we don't change the whole structure to a corporation, because once you're in a corporation, you can't get out of it. And when the law changes, you're stuck with it. There's an old saying, corporations like a lobster trap, easy to get into, difficult to live in, and impossible to get out of. So once you're in a C corporation, you're stuck. So so part of the planning has been to deal with these changes that we know are coming, but to deal with them in a scalpel, strategic, surgical way, and one that gives our clients flexibility rather than ones that make holistic changes that are difficult to pull back from.
Michael, thanks so much for this Q&A session.
You're very welcome.
We're going to move over to Keith. Keith, looking forward to hearing from you. Keith is going to present to us an inside look and a further breakdown of the family office setup.
He's going to set up. I'm going to do the little initial, and then I'm going to turn it over to Keith. Keith, you're on mute, just so you know.
I'm putting up the diagram.
So we're going to put up the diagram. So what Keith has created. So as I said, Keith is the Lord God King of our family offices. He sets them up. There's a whole thing on the left here, Keith, of different things. I just want the chart. Can I just get the chart?
Keith, take us full screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you take us full screen, Keith.
All right.
Righty.
Give me.
No, I've got the left-hand
Does
side
that
of my
work?
screen has your PC and all your different files in it. I need to get rid of that. And
Okay. All right. I apologize. I'll redo it.
I have Keith again.
Yes, that's me again. Here we go.
All
How's that?
right. There we go. All right.
Thank
There we
you.
go. So I'm going to start taking, so Keith prepared this. And this is obviously no one client. This is kind of a generic look at a family office and one way. And if you've seen one family office, you've seen one family office, how to structure them. So I'm going to start, and then I'm going to keep the ball over to Keith to handle the real difficult aspects of this, the more complicated ones. But we're going to try to keep it simple and give you kind of the big picture of what goes on. So at the top, this assumes a husband and wife. We have Adam and Betsy. And typically, Adam and Betsy will own their interests in a family limited partnership, which is our main investment vehicle. And you'll see it's a triangle in there. And what we'll do is we will have them own their interests through revocable trusts. And then we put another layer in of the revocable trust, limited liability companies that are controlled either because they are owned by the Smith Rev Trust or Rev Trusts, or because they're the manager of them. And we do this for a couple of reasons. This is one of those Pillsbury wrinkles or Keith wrinkles. I'll give it to Pillsbury, but really Keith's idea is what it does is it does a couple things. One is you can imagine our clients are traveling all around the world. If they're the trustee and they're the direct controller of those assets that are in there, then they need to be available to act. If they instead, they can delegate those authorities through the LLC and give them to us, they can give them to employees, they can quickly change and have different people act in those capacities. So that's one virtue. The other is anonymity. Really important point. We say Smith Rev Trust, but almost all the time we never use the names of the families, because one of the other aspects of family office is confidentiality and anonymity. We don't want to be targets. And so you won't see the Smith name in real, or anybody's name in real documents. And then just moving around. Now, again, the family office part, there's some virtues to structuring the family office, various tax virtues. We're not going to go into a lot of detail of them, but there are several on an income tax level. I may cover them in kind of broad brush fashion, but then the crux of them are that the family office is engaged in business. It is a business. And so things that are not business assets, we do not put in the family office. So we move those business assets out. And you can see to the right, my right anyway. Oh, well, okay, we can do that first. This would be where you'd put, your domestic employees, people who are not engaged in any business activities, your personal pay disbursements, your personal transportation in boats and recreational vehicles. And on the other side, this is where you'd put your personal residence. Also, as you may or may not know, for Florida law, to maintain a homestead, it can't be owned in an LLC. It's got to be owned through a Rev Trust. That's not entirely true. There's some workarounds to have an LLC involved. In fact, I use it myself, but for the most part, that's the rule. So we put our personal assets up there in the Rev Trust. Then those Rev Trusts control in one form or another. I say control because they're not really in control from a voting standpoint, but the bulk of the flow through flows from the family limited partnership. And the family limited partnership is the vehicle that owns all of presumably passive investments, your stocks, your bonds, your passive royalty investments, your coupon clipping, all go into that family office. All go into that limited partnership, family limited partnership. To the right, Keith circled various aspects of that are passive for certain of our clients, different investment. This is where you put your passive real estate, your real estate limited partnership investments, market trading, anything that is things that are going to throw off interest, dividends, normally capital gains, that are not directly business oriented, but require some kind of business management. And then in terms of the ownership of that vehicle, we have several different things. There's a general partner that's an S corporation. You'll see that. And then we have a C corporation in the structure as well. To the right, the Smith Long-Term Investments. And we do that to arbitrage rates. Obviously, anything that flows through to the general partner is going to be taxed at ordinary income rates. That's that currently 37%, for the most part, 41% maximum rate. There'll be some flow through of capital gains too, but most of that's going to go up through the LP interests. And then, but we may have certain types of income that we want to stuff into the C Corp, as well as certain types of deductions that individuals can't deduct. And those we want, again, to be taxed at the 21% rate and be deductible. So that's why we have a C Corp in the structure. Under the tax rules, we can change allocations between different members up until March 15th of the year after the year at issue. So you can basically retroactively allocate up until March 15th of 2021 for your activities during 2020. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but that's one strategy. Certain types of income is only taxed at 80% of that 41% or 39.6%. And so that's another strategy we deploy, is utilizing what's called the Section 199A deduction, which is 39.6, and we try to maximize that through this structure. Also, there's the what's called excess business loss rule, which again, not trying to get too much in the weeds. That's a rule that limits your deductions against investment type income. Now, the CARES Act had modified that for last year and for 2019, 2020, and now 2021. But it's still something that you have to take into account. And one of the reasons we use an investment manager and pay an investment management fee for managing the assets. And we try to adhere to the principles of what's called the lender case, LENDER case, which says under certain circumstances, a family office can be a trade or business. And I'm giving you the kind of summary version of it. And there are various aspects of that case, and we try to structure into our planning that. And you can see that one of the things we do in order to adhere to the lender case is we also manage the assets of others. And that's why you'll see to the side here, the Smith Irrevocable Children's Trust, the Smith Family Foundation, and we also put in our employees in there for their carried interest, their profits interest, if you will, in here as well, that we're managing their aspects of their lives. And then finally, and then I'm going to turn it over to Keith, there are securities law, there are 40 Act obligations that we have to adhere to. And there's an exception called the family office exception. And so our planning, besides doing tax planning, in order to pay out the investment management fee and to have an investment management arrangement, we have to make sure that we're managing the assets only of those that are permitted to be managed under the 1940 Act, and in order to qualify for that exemption under the family office exemption. I'm going to stop there and then give the heavy lifting over to Keith, everything south of the triangle on the chart. Keith.
Thank you, Mike. Mike was talking about the investments made by the Family Limited Partnership, which is this entity here. These tend to be passive investments. The structure that we often use also provides for a third level of active investments, and this is important to our planning of creating trades or businesses to allow deductibility of certain expenses and to allow the use of certain assets and making them deductible, such as an airplane. We do that through a subsidiary entity to the Family Limited Partnership, which we call the family office entity, which is right here. And this tends to be a limited liability company that's owned by the Family Limited Partnership. The general partner also owns an interest in it, and the C Corporation also owns an interest in it. And the reason that this is done is for the optionality that Michael was referring to earlier. And it allows us to take advantage and maximize the benefits available to us of the tax laws at the time and the economics of whatever the activities are by the family office entity. The family office entity does focuses on two different things. It owns the active businesses, which tend to be businesses that generate trade or business active type of income, as opposed to the passive capital gain, interest income, and capital gain that Mike was talking about at the Family Limited Partnership level. One of the things that it does is it has an employment, or it employs family office personnel that are multi-purpose, that are also dedicated to working in the businesses, as opposed to just focusing on the investment aspects of the family office. Here, through this, what we call Smith Support Services, this entity tends to hire security guards if the client has a security staff and team. It will hire bookkeepers and accountants that are multi-purpose, that may work across businesses, as well as through the family office, and then through allocation agreements, their expenses or their salaries are allocated among the various different entities. For those employees that are solely focused on investment decisions, as Mike had mentioned, they are solely employed by the management company, or the investment management company, which is what's circled right now. And this is where the principals, the clients, would be employed. If there was a chief investment officer, a CFO type. The other activities that are undertaken by this family office entity are the various active businesses. Businesses that we often see that the clients utilize are, just real quick, they may own an airplane, they may create a business such as an art dealership, or they may own a yacht and they can, excuse me there, and charter a yacht, and other businesses, maybe real estate development. And they each have their own particular requirements. For example, the aviation business, as Michael alluded to earlier, has its own separate special structure that's multi-faceted, because you're also dealing with FAA regulations. So it's not a matter of just owning an airplane. It's a matter of owning the airplane and then also having an operating company. You need to then have a special Part 135 or Part 91 dry lease, so that you're able to utilize the aircraft and also benefit from the deductions. And that's part of how why we structure it this way, is so that the depreciation deduction can be used in a deductible manner, so that it's not a personal use, but a trade or business use. And that's done by the airplane or the aircraft being used in the various businesses and in the investment management business that's set up. And we create through the various agreements, through the investment management agreement and the other agreements that we have, documentation requirements to support this, because documentation is a critical component of supporting deductibility of your use of a private aircraft. Another type of business may be an art business that clients have set up, an art dealership, and the family office will own the art business. It may have art galleries throughout the country. This actually, physical art galleries used to be a requirement, but as we've come into the internet age, and there's a lot of case law out there that requires that, but as we come into the internet age, online art galleries are starting to develop and also be supportive of having a art dealership type of business. Another business that clients have set up, that we work with clients, is a yacht. Some of them may want to buy a super yacht, and they may want to charter it so that they can offload the cost on charterers to help support the boat, the yacht. So we set up a separate structure for them that has a separate business. They charter the yacht. They also get to use the yacht personally. But when not so, we've set it up so that it's considered a trader business, and it creates deductibility of the expenses of operating the yacht, which they would not otherwise ordinarily have. And that's a big part of why we have set up the structure this way. And there's a whole host of other types of businesses here, and the list can go on and on. There's clients that have developed real estate development businesses, collection businesses, any sort of other business.
Hard money lending.
Hard money lending business. Also, clients who have put together investment teams may want to go out and bring in third-party investors. So in the structure, we also have the flexibility to create a separate external investment fund, which is in the circle here, which is where the investment team they've put together can be part of a greater fund and provide part of their services to this greater fund to help generate additional revenue and use of and to compensate the the investment team and bring in extra revenue to the family office, but so as not to interfere in the family office exemption and have these other investors involved in the family office business, we created as a side business where it will have to be separately registered for securities law purposes as a registered investment advisor, but only as to the investment fund that's being set up. It could be an investment fund for real estate, traditional private equity, hedge, whatever the expertise is that you have. So usually it's sponsored by the family office here, who provides a seed capital to get it going. Then they start taking in additional funds from outside investors. They're entitled to the carried interest here, which then goes up, and the family office tends to split with the investment team that they've established. And that's what this fund carry entity does. And a portion of it is split with the investment team, and a portion of it goes back into the family office as additional revenue. And all of these funds and the income from these funds flow up to the family and the principals. And depending upon the type of income, we structure it in such a way as to offset some of the income that's generated by the passive investments of the family limited partnership, so as to maximize our tax benefits. That's about it right here. If there's any particular, also we have an investment management agreement, which is typically your 2% of your 2 and 20 with a traditional private equity fund. The investment management company may also enter into separate, what we call monitoring agreements or management agreements with the separate businesses, because some of these businesses may not warrant a full-time person and may not have the back office staff. So the management business up here provides that back office services for an annual fixed fee. It's usually a fixed fee as opposed to the 2% or the 20% variable fee.
Keith, that's great. I wanted to make just a couple of quick points. One of them is about just highlighting a couple of things. One is about risk, is that, many of our clients are well known. They care about reputational risk. That's separate from, pure legal determination. So I want to be clear that, we're not a firm that pushes the edge of the envelope. We're not a firm that has ever been involved with tax shelters or anything of that nature. We don't have that reputation. The firm's been around 151 years. I've enjoyed, and Keith has enjoyed, mine is over 30 years, his is some a little bit less, but reputation where we want to represent good people who want to pay their fair share of tax, but only their fair share of tax. And that doesn't mean everything we do, the IRS agrees with. That's just not the way the system works. That's why there are tax court cases and district court cases and lots of other types of guidance in the tax area. And there's lots of ambiguity. We're a firm that makes disclosure of our positions, or a firm that gives tax opinions and stand by our positions. So this is nothing we're presenting here today, pushes the edge of the envelope in any way. And we wouldn't be associated with things that do. So I wanted to make that point. The other thing I want to say is that besides, of course, knowing the tax code, the tax regulations, the IRS rulings and guidance, to be able to guide clients, because it's not a linear path. These are strategies. Tax law is probably the most vetted area in terms of guidance and precedent and so forth than there is anywhere in the law. We know that stuff, but we also are involved, unlike a lot of law firms, in the audit phase. So we represent family offices, some of whom are our existing clients, some of whom we are not our clients, but we've been asked to represent them. in tax controversy related matters with the IRS or particular states. We handle a lot of residency related audits, people moving from California, New York to Florida or to Texas. We've had very notable ones, including a very sizable lottery winner and lots of people in industry that have moved recently. Names have been in the newspaper. So we've handled those. We've also handled audits relating to family offices. And the IRS has announced that they are stepping up audits. And we have had several of them already. And so we understand the audit guidelines, and we understand what the ultra net worth group of the IRS is looking for when they engage in these sort of examinations. So we have both. So we're informed not just by its traditional sources, but also real, boots on the ground, firsthand knowledge of what's going on before they end up codified in cases.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Keith.
I had one more thing on that I forgot to mention, if that's okay.
Yep.
It's more than about the tax too, with the family office and our representation. We also help the children of our clients and helping them develop an employment history and being involved in the businesses. It's not uncommon that the clients ask us to assist their children to become employees of some of these entities and businesses that we create, and help them get established in business and create an employment history.
Yeah, I mean, on a lot of levels, that's so excellent point. Yeah, they start to work in family businesses or aspects of the family office. They serve on boards of portfolio companies as they get older. And at the very young age, many children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren get involved with philanthropic activities and charitable giving on a firsthand basis. So it's also a training ground for next generation. Very good point, Keith. Thanks for mentioning it.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Keith, if you can go ahead and take it off the screen, we're going to go back into some questioning.
Okay.
And our first question is actually, do you have this available as a slide that you could share?
Anybody can reach out to Keith directly. We're not hard to find. All you got to do is Google Kosnitzky Pillsbury or Blum and Keith Pillsbury, and it'll pop up, and you send an email. I'm sure Keith will get it to you.
Yes.
And can you go through the site for the company, some information where people can go and get more information?
Well, we have Pillsbury. If you go to Pillsbury, if you Google Pillsbury, not the Doughboy, but if you go to Pillsbury Law, it'll pop up. But if you go to private wealth, there's a separate kind of subgroup in there, and there's a bunch of data on. There's a lot of stuff on me under private wealth, and there's also my own bio, Kosnitzky, Pillsbury, but also the firm itself. Been around 151 years, have represented some of the wealthiest families. I didn't start the private wealth group at Pillsbury. I joined it, Keith and I joined 4 years ago, and had been at Pillsbury for 4 years. But Pillsbury has been representing the wealthiest families of the world for 151 years. And so there's a long history. Winthrop Simpson, which was merged many, many years ago with the Pillsbury Madison firm. There's a long history there. So there's a lot of that is on the website under private wealth. And there's a whole PDF about it, and it's easy to find. We're very, we have a lot of very open kimono in terms of our practice. Obviously, we don't talk about our clients. We don't mention our names of our clients, and we don't discuss our clients. That's one of the problems in this practice area. You win a court case, you handle an M&A transaction, you're all over the newspaper. That doesn't happen in this situation. There is a bit of a leap of faith in terms of that. But as you might guess, the ultra wealthy talk among themselves, and we're known among in that circle of being certainly one of the top tier firms.
Thank you, Michael. A final question, going back to real estate holdings, are property taxes negotiable?
With whom? No, there's the way it normally works. If you're talking about property taxes with the municipality, you're assessed a property tax, and depends on the jurisdiction how it works. Everyone is specific. We have a group, a SALT group in the firm, works on that, and we work with them. And a couple of their members are part of our group and spend a lot of time, especially you might imagine our clients have a sizable amount of real estate. So, you get assessed, and then there's an appeal process, an internal appeal process that takes place. And we've been involved with very large ones. As you might guess, we don't handle smaller ones. There are people that handle smaller ones for people, people that are not ultra high net worth and don't have homes, but we're of that value. But we have one going on right now for a $50 million home in Palm Beach. We have a sizable one in Beverly Hills we're handling now. So I don't say they're negotiable, not from the government's perspective, but they are ones that you appeal. And there are strategies for appeals depending upon, they're very jurisdictionally oriented. You look at comps, you look at whether or not there's a personal property component to the purchase price. I mean, there's a variety of things you do. So not negotiable, but certainly ones that you're worth challenging.
Thank you, Michael. Michael and Keith, is there anything else that either of you wants to address?
Keith, I'll let you have the final word here. Unless do you have anything to add here?
I mean, Keith, you did cover a lot. Keith, we need to get you to unmute.
Yes, we do. Yeah. No, I don't have anything to add right now because.
Well, then I'll just say we appreciate the opportunity to share with your viewers. We're available if you want to chit chat with us. We certainly, don't have, we have full transparency. We're like, I think it's Mercedes, right? Mercedes says, we have open kimono. We let people see what we do. There's nothing we do that's secretive, or something that needs to be hidden. These are just strategies that most people don't deploy because, they're, as you can see, they're complicated and in some cases expensive to deploy. You have to apply a cost benefit, but one doesn't need to do all of these things. Remember, this chart we gave you is kind of the universe of things. And actually, it's not even the full universe of things. It's the things we thought were relevant in the universe of things. Once we hear from a particular client, a potential client, then we can blend more specific strategies into that chart. And that's one of the things we do. We create the chart, we create the organization and everything else. And then we help you manage it if you want us to. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Keith. One more time, can you give us your contact information, starting with you, Michael?
Well, I can be emailed at michael.kosnitzky@pillsburylaw.com. Or just very simple, you just got to go to the internet and put in Kosnitzky Pillsbury. And I think you can spell my name wrong and it'll pop up. And you'll find everything you ever want to know about me. Every article I've written, every time I've been quoted in the Times or Wall Street Journal or Forbes or wherever it might be, you'll find the universe of more than you ever wanted to know. And but you'll go to the website, and the website for me will have my bio, and it will have again, things that have been written, my different credentials and so forth on it, as well as a private wealth group. And Keith, I'll just say it's the same for Keith. It's the same. It's keith.blum@pillsburylaw.com.
Speaking for Keith.
Ditto.
Well, he said he had nothing else to say, so I thought didn't want to take him off his track.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, it's been a real pleasure getting to speak with both of you for this past hour. It's certainly been informational, great content for our viewers. And thank you so much, Michael, Keith. Thank you so much for being part of Haute Living and the Haute Lawyer Network. Really honored to work together with you, Michael.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Ditto. I hope we do it again.
And looking forward to seeing you soon.
Take care.